You guys stop fooling around for a second because we just went live. Jazz Cabbage Cafe, and everything so far is kind of working, so we'll take it.
We're going to resume fooling around now. All right.
All right.
You can, because now we're safely broadcasting live on Facebook. So
Right.
yeah, I got a few things to try to get to today. Obviously, we always just kind of see what unfolds in real life, but there's some stuff about Ohm I want to talk about maybe kind of toward the end of the show. Botanical Company is celebrating a year in East Tawas. So we have Danielle on later on. Danielle Ross, our great manager. Talk about that later on. Greg Pawlowski, city planner in Detroit. Has some updates and some information on kind of what's going on with the cannabis stuff in Detroit. I'll be kind of interested to find out about that. The last couple of shows, even on Medical Monday and stuff, we've gotten some insight into what's going on, and there's some discussions from Kate's office on the ordinance that they're working on and stuff. So interesting to add on to some of that information. We're joined here with a co-host for today, Mike Brennan from the 420 Post podcast, which is kind of a cannabis business focused broadcast in which Rick also participates on. He announces it every show. Jamie Cooper is also on that show, and it's another good show, and we like to support each other. And we'll talk to Mike. Will join us today and chime in as much as you like on any of this stuff, Mike, and also we'll take a few minutes out and talk a little bit more about what you're doing.
All right, sounds great.
So a little off-topic thing, but an issue that we brought up many times. That's permeates all of our lives right now. We still struggle with the COVID pandemic, and recently the governor was compromised by a ruling from the Michigan State Supreme Court, and right when it happened, there were many things said about that. Whether it was a ruling that was effective immediately, whether there was some time before it went into effect because there's a period for reconsideration. There was also a lawyer, and I can't regurgitate it properly, but was saying that it's not really in effect, but it's going to be because what that opinion from the Supreme Court was an advisory opinion for the federal courts that asked them to weigh in on it. Whatever it is, the Attorney General said she's not enforcing it anymore, and if you look at the .gov website on the orders, it says that they are rescinded right now. So that is the case, and there's some talk of legislative solution or resuming the powers under different pathways. And in some counties, in Oakland County, I think, for example, the county health department reinstated all those mandates and all those protocols. I'm sure that all that's going to be challenged and to see where it goes. But, regardless of any of that, I'm concerned that people conflate not having to do it with it not being necessary anymore. And it's just kind of an obvious response that some are going to have. In fact, one of the lawyers who's been pressing this issue and got the ruling has been saying, go ahead and burn your masks and start opening up all your stuff. And, so that is the case for some people. And it's really concerning. We talked about it on here, we had a positive case of one of our employees in East Tawas at the Botanical Company. And we shut down and cleaned everything up and got everybody tested. And nobody else was positive. And protocol was strictly followed. That, to me, is an indication that following protocol works. And it definitely helps reduce risk. And so we're going to continue to do that. We're going to have people put on a mask if they want to come in. If they don't necessarily, we have curbside. And all of our crew there will continue to follow the protocol that we saw work. I don't know how much that's going to go on, but I'm kind of curious what people's thoughts are on this, and also concerned.
So people understand what I'm sorry, Jamie, I hope you were ready to.
I was just throwing it over to you, but you were grabbing it, so you're all set, as you do.
So people understand that I grab it, so it's all set. Thank you. So people understand what the governor's, what happened to the governor. It's actually a ruling that affected the law, not necessarily the governor's decision to make those. And it said that the law was improperly derived and therefore unconstitutional. Not that her decision making was poor or that she had done something improper, but the underlying law that she had based her decisions on was taken away. Oftentimes people see something like this and they interpret it as a direct slap against the governor, or this is just perfect vindication of everything we've been saying all along. The subtleties may not necessarily justify that, but it's an interesting, curious thing. And I can tell you one person that's really taken COVID seriously, and that's Debra Young. She self-isolated. She's been very cautious. She tortured her poor husband and wouldn't let him golf all summer long. She was so mean to poor Dave. I hope he's listening. And I'm giving brownie points for saying that. But Deb, what do you think? Is the world going to open back up now and everybody's going to get sick again?
Well, the governor had a news conference this afternoon, and my short-term memory isn't great, but basically I believe what she said is she's going to find a way around all this and make sure that we are protected. She says she's willing to work with the Republicans in Lansing, but she's not going to be dictated by them. And I think if people are going to run around like Trump and pretend like this is just it's something crazy going on, or it's just a small flu. Today he said this is just the flu as he's running. What the hell is going on in this world? I don't understand. We are still going to be very cautious over here. Oakland County issued like Jamie said, a total ban following every single thing that the governor had laid down. Everything is still in effect, not just in Oakland County, but I've heard in other counties around the state. And people are smart. They're going to, if not, I don't know what to tell people. I'm protecting myself. But the science says put a mask on. The science says stay away from big crowds. That's what the science says, dude. I don't make this shit up. That's what the doctors and the scientists tell us. Now, do we listen to them, or do we listen to crazy people and Donald Trump? You tell me.
Well, it's been crazy people and Donald Trump leading the pack for quite a while.
What is the difference?
Well, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this before. He had a parade. He's in the hospital. They're giving him oxygen. He gets in the car and has a parade. Goes back to the White House, rips his mask off and says, I am Superman. I'm cured now.
The doctor said it was even more dangerous because of the way that those cars are sealed.
Yeah.
People are dropping like flies around him, and he's still going out in public. I just saw on TV today, they said that they don't recommend that this was a group of doctors speaking, say they do not recommend that Joe Biden goes on, or not Joe Biden, that Kamala Harris goes on and debates Mike Pence tomorrow, because Mike Pence has been too close to these people. And even being in the same room, even 12 feet apart, is dangerous. So what the hell? What the hell?
Let me just say this. We saw the president admitted to Walter Reed, and then we saw him get into that vehicle and then do a little drive around the Secret Service, drove around. Look, the thing is, I totally get it. I understand. The Secret Service are dads too. When you have a cranky child, you put them in the car seat, you drive them around the block a couple times so they get tired, and then you bring them back and put them to bed.
Yeah, but that risk
was just doing good parenting on Donald Trump, man.
Except for taking a really seriously unnecessary risk while doing it.
This is the kind of shit that Putin does, where he's on the back of a horse, bare-chested, to show how manly and what a great leader he is. I mean, what the hell? The average American looked at this and said, this is the most stupid ass thing. I don't know what to believe anymore. I'm sitting here. I don't know what to believe. Does he have the corona? I don't know. What do you think, Rick? Does he have it? Doesn't he have it?
You know what?
Lying? His doctor's full of shit. I don't understand what's going on.
A guy his size recovering that quickly seems
incredibly
suspicious. Colin MacDougall, you're a young guy. You could withstand a couple bouts with Rona, right? I mean, but you're not 322 pounds and 70-some years old, which is, the Donald's true weight we found out recently.
That's in Colin's future.
That's almost like 200 more pounds than me.
It's like 2 whole Collins, actually.
3 almost.
The fact is that 3 whole Collins. So the fact is, there's a lot of people in the younger age group to which you belong that feel a little bit invincible. They feel invulnerable. They become passive carriers, and then they spread the zombie apocalypse. So I think all of us older people hate you right now. Fuck off, Colin. But what do you got to say? Tell us what you got.
You and your youth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, first,
Precious
I wanted to piggyback on what Deb's point was, do we even know if he really has it, or what the hell is even going on? Because it's kind of why should I start believing the president now?
Exactly.
After
Like,
20,
and-
after 20,000 lies, and he's the king of political theater. Essentially, this is his live show, and he's a showman.
Do you see the
Yeah.
picture of him at the desk in the hospital signing
Yes.
signing a blank piece of
Blank
paper with
piece of
his
paper.
name? They zoomed in,
the
it's
pictures-
totally
This
blank.
isn't the first time he's signed blank pieces of paper for us,
No.
though.
And the
Theater.
pictures were time coded,
Theater.
so they're like 10 minutes apart, but he's wearing different outfits
I
and
understand
sitting
that.
at a
Though.
different table in the same room, 10 minutes apart.
Theater.
I don't
Yeah.
I like to
understand.
have a
Were
little
they
piece of
dressing
paper
him
to
and
scribble on and
undressing
stuff
him?
like that too.
Yeah,
so
but I
it
don't-
just, it's hard, I guess, to like figure out like what is like the truth right now. And I feel like a lot of Americans, they like have been listening, at least in Michigan. I feel like a lot of them have been listening to Gretchen Whitmer, and I like watched her video earlier today about it. And I did see a lot of like different businesses putting out there like, we still require a mask. This is our private property and whatnot. I saw like a big thing about Costco.
Right.
So I think that hopefully like more people decide to wear the masks in public. So
You know, Colin, I'm going to interrupt you right now. I apologize, big man, because we have a very special guest that's joined us for the Jazz Cabbage Cafe today. Somebody who's celebrating a birthday too. That would be our very, very good friend, Mr. John Sinclair. Welcome, John.
Yay.
Legendary John Sinclair. You look good, man.
John Sinclair.
Infamous.
Rick, you looking good, man. You must be good and high.
That's Rick's middle name, Hi, So.
Yeah.
Hey, Jamie.
I'm out
How
at the
you doing?
woodshed. Yep. No, I was just with John not that long ago at the Clio Cultivation event, and he recorded his, what is it, 828th podcast? Was that correct?
I was 882.
882. I dyslexic to numbers.
The sound was too severe there. I had to recut it at home.
But
That could be right.
882 podcasts, weekly
Yeah,
podcasts. That's
many of us have.
883 now, and I remembered it was 4 o'clock.
John had the good idea of doing this stuff well before any of us thought about it.
I was before podcasting.
Yeah.
right.
My 30 program.
Amsterdam. Yeah.
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 So
I-
a lot of people had the same good idea at the same time. I was
Right.
And then, of course, COVID forced us.
You in a long time.
I know, man.
And
So-
I saw her there for a minute.
I saw Laith Al-Sadi post on Facebook that he was going to a birthday party for you.
Hey, Wade.
Oh, that's fantastic.
This man played guitars with me.
Nice.
I always like to perform on my birthday to show that I haven't deteriorated.
Well, I can. Very famous time that you and Laith played together was on the stage of Hash Bash one year. Both he played guitar backing you, and you did your spoken word poetry. It was amazing.
What is jazz?
Yes, what is jazz? That's correct.
Spiritual, it's called.
It's a spiritual. Thank you. It was impressive. It stuck with me to today.
I'm good at that Hash Bash because it has a great passage about the sheriff being far away from the scene of the crime. Now we banished the motherfucker. Yes.
So,
Thank
John, an amazing pathway that we've gone from where you started to where we are right
you.
now.
It is. It's great.
How good does it feel? I mean, I know we're not complete. Legalization's not perfect, but how does it feel right now?
Well, it feels good. You know, personally, 2008 was a turning point for me when medical. I got my card, I got my caregiver, and I've been golden ever since then. I don't pay a dime for weed. I don't worry about anything. And this is better. I always wanted it for myself. I fought this law because I thought they would bust me every year. They did it 3 times. And I thought I was going to have to contend with this because I knew I was going to be smoking pot all my life. I was pretty committed to that. And I just thought, man, these motherfuckers are going to bust me every year. And I better fight them now when I can. And of course, I ended up doing 2.5 years in prison for that, but it wasn't life. And I never had to worry about it. I've never been busted again, thank God. Who's that?
Those are some very turbulent times. Deborah Young's on here too, John.
Hello,
You seen
Debra.
Deb?
I
Yeah.
see John.
Hi, Deb. I wanted
Hi,
to ask you
John.
something. I
What?
finally got back in touch with Rodriguez.
I know, I talked to his daughter
Okay, good.
this
Okay.
afternoon, and I
Okay,
sent
good.
you a message. I don't know if you saw it or not. And I said, you
Yeah.
sent me a voicemail, but I can't understand what you're saying, but I figured it was that because she called me.
Okay, good.
So I figured so.
It felt like that's what you were talking about.
Yeah. I kind of figured that was what he meant, so it happened.
Cool. Rodriguez, I really like Rodriguez.
Yeah, I guess I'll meet him tomorrow.
I've been knowing him since '68. We were hippies together.
That's a great story. There's a documentary about that.
Yeah, an Oscar-winning documentary.
Yeah. He was
Oscar with that.
he put out some really awesome music, and wasn't aware of how popular it was getting in Africa.
And didn't make no money off of it.
He was like Bob Dylan. Huh.
Yeah.
And of course, his record company never paid him.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't make a dime. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
It is.
That's a great story. I hope that things are going much better now.
Oh man, he gets $25,000 a night.
That'll work.
Nice.
All right.
It'll definitely work. Yeah.
Go to the
Life gives you
concert,
reward.
and everybody in the concert sings the songs along with them.
Cool. That's
They
the
all
way it
saw
is.
the movie. It's an amazing experience.
Nice.
He had me open for him a couple of times, and he gave me an exorbitant amount of money to do
So that would be a great night.
it.
See that back to
Be
back.
fun. Yep.
Then the ultimate compliment was the first time I had my music with me. And then the next time he said, I want you to do it by yourself because I love your poetry.
Oh.
I want you to just do it by yourself so I could hear the poems straight up.
Wow.
Nobody
No
ever
music
said
to
that
distract.
before.
Cool one too.
So, John, I've heard this story a couple of times, and it always gives me a little bit of pleasure when you tell it. But tell me how your case helped to bring down Richard Nixon. Tell our watchers.
Oh man, that's a hell of a story.
I know. That's why I love it when you tell it.
That's the greatest.
I'm gonna get it all together at once.
I'm gonna mute myself.
Well, in maybe it was September 1968, somewhere in there. I forget when it was. Somebody blew up Ann Arbor's CIA recruiting office on the campus of the university, just off the campus. Well, the fact that they had this recruiting office was highly illegal. The CIA was not supposed to have any dealings inside the United States at all. So these guys, who I happen to know, wanted to call attention to the fact that the CIA was recruiting people on the U of M campus where we were based. So they put a stick of dynamite in the doorway of their building. And it caused a minor explosion. And when the police came, it came out in the reports that it was a CIA office. So that was a great thing from my perspective. But then in September of '69, I was indicted along with two other guys for conspiring to blow up the CIA office. I didn't have anything to do with it. Not that I wasn't proud of it. I was glad to know the guys who did it, but it wasn't me. There was a meeting that was cited in the indictment of me that said I was there at the meeting, but it wasn't me, it was another guy. It was a mistaken identity. I know that sounds crazy, but I was indicted under this mistaken identity. Well, I was already in prison for 2 joints of marijuana, 9.5 to 10-year sentence in Michigan. This is a federal case. So the other 2 guys were Lawrence Punplamondon, my partner in the White Panther Party, and a guy named Jack Forrest, who was in the Detroit White Panther Party. And Pun was actually charged with being the bomber. David Valor was a guy in Detroit called President Dave because in '68 he ran for president as a hippie in the LSD ticket. And he got busted for weed. And he was the guy who had a little gang of people who were blowing up shit all over Detroit, draft boards, school boards. You know, they were nuts. And telling him, boasting about it. Well, he got busted for that too. So he said that me, Pond, and Jack Forrest, who was his friend, had conspired to blow up the Sand Harbor CIA. Well, we were arraigned. We got the great Hugh M. Buck Davis Jr. of Detroit as our main counsel, fresh out of law school. And we had the assistance of the two great New York attorneys named William Kunstler and Leonard Weinglass. And they helped us, and they fronted for it because they could get the publicity that we needed. Whenever we had a charge, we thought we'd better fight it in the newspapers and television because it was the only chance we had to get our point across to the people. So we had these guys in an automatic. They had just come from the Chicago 7 trial, Chicago 8. And so they were in the news. So this got a lot of attention to our case. And they're brilliant legal people as well. So one of the things he did was develop a list of what they call interrogatories to ask whether the government had done this or that, whether they had obtained any, one of them was whether they obtained any evidence through wiretaps on the defendants. One of our motions, pre-trial motions, was to disclose this. One was to dismiss the jury panel because nobody under 24 could be on the jury. And that was our constituency, was people under 24. So we said we couldn't possibly get a jury of our peers because they weren't allowed to be on the jury panel. Anyway, I didn't mean to go on at such length, but this is a long story.
Okay, keep going, man.
So on the issue of the wiretap, our judge, the late great Damon Keith of Detroit Federal District Court for the Eastern District of Michigan, ruled that if the government had obtained any information on any of us through wiretaps, they had to disclose this. Well, the government came back and said, yeah, we have information on defendant Pomandin that we got on the wiretap, but it was on a source that we can't disclose for national security purposes. Well, it turned out that Richard M. Nixon and his Justice Department, so-called, under, what was that asshole's name? Mitchell, John N. Mitchell, and his chief deputy in this wiretap, national security wiretap, was the guy who went on to become the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, William Rehnquist. Rehnquist devised this fucking strategy that you could put wiretaps on people if you said that they were a menace to national security.
Wow.
Without any proof or without any warrants or anything. Distinct violation of the Constitution. So we raised these protests, and Judge Keith agreed with us. And he said, there's no such thing as a warrantless wiretap under the US Constitution. So you're gonna have to disclose this, who was it on and what did they say? He said, well, we can't do it because of national security. So he said, well, I'm gonna drop the case. So he dropped the case against us. The government appealed his decision. That was a very rare thing to do. But they were trying to get this warrantless wiretap thing established as law. This was Rehnquist's strategy. Well, our appeal went through the Court of Appeals in Cincinnati, and they denied us, and then they affirmed us. And so it went to the Supreme Court. Well, interesting things happened there that I need to say. One was that the Solicitor General of the United States, Erwin Griswold, refused to argue Nixon's case because it was so cockamamie. And it was so kind of, so the Solicitor General of the United States refused to represent the president. I thought that was the greatest. And so this idiot named Robert Mardian out of the Justice Department, he had to argue in front of the Supreme Court. We had the leading constitutional lawyer of the left. Oh man, now my mind's gone. Bill. I know him as Bill. He represented us in the Supreme Court. He argued brilliantly. They presented a brilliant written argument. Robert Mardian argued for the president. He was a clown. He bumbled his way through. The Supreme Court justices almost were laughing at the guy. They were tormenting him with questions. In the end, and Rehnquist had just been named to the Supreme Court, but he couldn't sit on my case because he had been the architect of the other side. So we won 8-0 in the Supreme Court. I was there. And I was on a Friday. And they ruled that there was no such thing as a warrantless wiretap, and that if the government had any of these, they were going to prosecute them. Well, they didn't announce the verdict on Friday. They didn't announce it until Monday. The speculation is that Justice Rehnquist called John Mitchell and his colleagues in the Justice Department and told them about the decision that it would be coming out on Monday, and that if they had any wiretaps out, they'd better remove them so on Monday they could say they didn't have any. And that Saturday was when they broke into the Watergate to take out the wiretaps on the Democratic National Headquarters. So we felt I didn't know this until 20 years later.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a beautiful thing.
It was beautiful. Yeah.
I didn't know about it for 20 years. And,
I appreciate that shit. Because I watched him
That's
resign
awesome.
and shit. You know, I was a teenager. I watched that shit come down on TV, and that was some heavy shit. Thank you.
Yes.
Of
Yeah.
all the different things.
We'd have it with this clown they got now by now, but no.
Well, you're gonna have to. Maybe you got to get involved.
No,
You might have to step in and do something, John.
I voted.
This Solicitor General is certainly not going to refuse it.
Right now, for the Democratic Party, because I'm a registered Democrat.
Well, I thank you for sharing that story. That's why I love to get it on tape. I've heard it verbally. But I didn't know if we had it on tape anywhere, but now we do.
Great.
And,
Okay, great. It's a long story. Send me a copy so I can put it in my archives.
oh, I'm going to
Beautiful.
take this show. I'll cut it up just to have that story. I've already done one.
I could, I brag about my role in the marijuana, overturning the marijuana laws, but I never bragged about this because it was an ancillary issue.
It's very cool, though. It's very cool.
Yeah, I'd brag about that right now, but I didn't really have anything to do with it. But I was part of the
evil.
show.
Yeah, he was an evil
Your
man.
case was the precedent.
Oh man,
I mean,
President.
Yeah.
And when you start talking about
there's the Supreme Court Chief Justice. That was the beginning of the end for the Supreme Court, which now they're trying to shred it completely.
yeah,
Right.
I know.
It's fucked up. It's really messed up.
Yeah, great deal. When was your birthday, John, and how many years young are you?
It was Friday, October 2nd. I'm 79 years old.
79 trombones.
You could
That's
still
great.
say I'm in
76.
70-ish.
Yeah, you outlived Nixon. Fuck that guy.
Yeah. Well.
That's right. Well, rest in peace. But yeah, fuck that guy.
Right.
So no,
I hope
you're
we're waiting for President Trump with open arms right now.
Right. They got a flashlight on, waiting for him.
now, John. You do books and you do events and things like that too. Do you have anything coming up where we might be able to hear you?
Well, tonight. Well, they're starting tonight, but tomorrow through Saturday they're running the Concert of Colors on TV. I was in that with Don Was. And if I don't get cut because of the nature of my contribution,
What did you do?
I did my piece on the Motor Cities burning about the riots of 1967.
Okay, so they don't like that? Why wouldn't everybody loves that?
Well, it ends with the statement, there's nothing to look forward to Why not just burn the motherfucker down?
Down. Right. Right. That's what I'm saying. Everybody loves that. Come on.
I
You think
know,
they
but
would-
who knows? This is national TV
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
I
Detroit
know.
Public.
We'll see.
I got a small, it's a John Lee Hooker tribute to Don Was Park. And I got a small number that's a tribute.
Well, hopefully they didn't watch it too closely, who's ever producing it, and they just slide it right through.
Oh, sure, we'll see that.
That'd be awesome. I'm gonna watch to see for real.
It'll be a great show. A lot of great people.
Oh,
I'm with Harmonica Shaw and Tina.
You know, John, earlier we were asking everyone about coronavirus, and now that the Supreme Court's overturned the mandate for a certain mask wearing and bar clothes, I'm so pissed about it too. Are you going to
We're on another planet?
I know, it's crazy.
They're unbelievable.
You can't make this shit up. I mean, this is
You
like
couldn't
some
make
kind of
it up.
crazy, bizarre
Right.
nightmare.
You can't make this up.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you got out of that place you're in for post surgery recovery.
That was scary as hell, John.
Yeah.
That rehab place.
I'm amazed at how I took it.
I
Yeah.
can't believe that you made it out of there, seriously, because
Stamps.
they locked the place down, like right as your ass went out the door.
Well,
They
yeah, I was
locked it down.
lucky though, see.
Yeah,
They said the
Yeah.
hospital went to hell after I left.
yeah, I'm sure it
My
did.
nursing home where I did my rehab really went to hell. And the people, the nurses and shit got sick.
Well, yeah, they were like working all different facilities. They would work like 3 or 4 because I mean they don't pay them much. So these people are working 2.5, 3
Yeah,
jobs,
my God.
spreading shit around.
Nobody's greater than nurses. They're the greatest in my
They're the greatest in the world, and people
They're
working
great.
they're not getting paid enough.
They know you
bullshit.
and they take care of you in your most intimate ugliness.
Yeah, yeah, it's
They
true.
clean your
Without-
shit up, you know.
without judgment and without
How did
anything
they
else,
do it?
because they
I couldn't do
really
it.
want them. No.
Beautiful
Yeah.
people.
Yeah,
Man.
don't bring your sick ass over here because I'm not
You
gonna
know,
wipe it.
Right now I'm in Harvard. I'm in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I'm in residence at the Center for the Study of World Religion.
Ah, tell us about it.
And Dr. J.C. Greer has just been hired here, and he brought me in to be in residence for 3 weeks.
Very cool.
I'm here in Harvard right now on the fucking campus.
Wow.
Nice.
Does it feel like so
I
weird?
haven't
Can
been
you feel it?
anywhere in quite a long time. In February, I was going to go to Holland for the first time in 3 years. And I went to the airport and I didn't feel quite right. And I turned around and went home. And then I had a heart attack. And then I had open heart surgery. But I was saying, I just took it in stride, I guess. It wasn't frightening. I knew I got the greatest doctor at the Detroit Medical Center named Dr. Muhammad Kang. He takes really good care of me.
Now that you're a few months in,
No problem. He calls me back.
now that you're a few months post surgery, John, is everything as
8
far
months
as that goes?
now.
8 months?
They give me a clean bill of health. Yeah,
Clean
Awesome.
bill.
I'm still weak though.
We're gonna
They
start
called
calling.
me about 20 times in the last 3 years, so I'm
Right.
all beat up inside. You know?
I think we're gonna have to start calling you Harvard John now. You're in residence
It's
on the
coming.
campus.
Check out the Lowell house while you're out there, obviously.
If you're
Think
like
of me
Leonard King, you can call me Dr. Professor. It's nice to talk to you guys.
Oh, John, it was wonderful.
to
Thank
see
you
you.
for
You look
sharing
great.
your birthday wishes and your stories. You have a lot of energy today. That's wonderful.
No,
man,
you
we-
look
we-
awesome, John.
Yeah, you
I'm
look
really
good.
I had a grueling air trip yesterday, but I'm recovering today.
Huh? See, it's good. It's good that you're here today, and Berg is here today because you are what Berg's going to look like in
Berg
like
hasn't
20
spoke a
years.
single word.
Yeah.
What's going on? I
He's
don't
been taking
understand.
care of John.
Yeah.
What?
Yep. That's what.
You just agree, right?
Listen to the story.
Come on, you aren't gonna look like me. You
Right.
look like me when I was in high school.
Your alter ego.
Oh, wow.
Man, when you get back, John, we'll have to have a small, safe gathering
That'll be good.
and hang out a little bit,
That's the
Yeah.
birthday party I had at PJ's. We only had 25 people.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, maybe out on your, well, it's getting cold now. Because we can space ourselves out on your deck out there,
We'll just go to the plantation.
four
I mean,
corners. Yeah.
enough room for everybody.
Okay, fellas.
All right, man.
Thank you, John.
Man, have a great
Bye.
night, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Thanks, John. See you, man.
I always have a big smile on my face.
That's all right. I
hanging
love
out with
John.
Sinclair.
Yeah,
I
it was
always
awesome.
have a big smile.
He's a wonderful guy. Really, really. I mean, especially that story about Nixon. I mean,
Dude. And he's like, oh, I can't remember
Yeah.
this, but then he like totally gets it all, man. That guy is 79 years
Yeah.
old, just came up with details of a story from the 60s.
yeah, it just comes
You
comes
know?
out. It's just awesome.
That's why I wanted to get it on tape. I've heard it before, and you know, you're like one of those. This is a moment everybody in the world should know about, but nobody does. So
Yeah.
Actually, that puts a whole different spin on Watergate. I'd never heard that before.
well,
Yeah.
we all knew that they got busted trying to take the recording devices out, but no one ever really knew why were they removing them. They figured maybe the jig was up or the job was done. The truth
No.
is
They
were
didn't want to get busted.
They
Yeah.
were- the beginning, the end of the week,
beginning
it
of the
turns out
end.
they were wrong, and then they were still
Yeah.
in their plan was getting carried out the next day. Man, this whole thing is
Yeah.
crazy. So cool that
Well-
John's case was the one that was the precedent for fucking all that whole thing up.
Well, and you know, not only look at the different levels upon which we can heap celebrity upon John Sinclair. Not only is he a cannabis legend, but also White Panther. So he was, you know, way back when. What we just talked about with Nixon, and then continuing forward with his poetry, his beat poetry, his
Manager of the MC5, he was a icon, man. He's a
multifaceted motherfucker. He
Yeah.
is, and not only that, he's just a great person to be around. He really is. He's
Totally
witty.
cool guy. Yeah.
He's
Totally cool, down
intelligent.
to earth. Smart,
I wouldn't
love
say it
him.
if it wasn't true, and he's one of my favorite people to just hang with. You know.
Yeah, he's cool. Definitely cool. And Jamie, he looks great because, you know, Jamie and I went and saw him right after the surgeries and stuff. And this is a good look now, believe me, because he was not looking good. And he was right. If in case we didn't make it clear to the people listening, John was in a rehab center recovering from open heart surgery right when Corona hit. And they discharged him. And the following day, the governor shut down the nursing homes. He would have been stuck in there and probably contracted it because the nursing home he was in the real high area where people were dropping like flies.
Yeah. And that was just
Those were
early.
really sad. Families couldn't be near their
You couldn't
loved
go in
ones
there.
they were passing and stuff
Yep.
like that, and it was really rough.
Yep. Yeah, it just ran rampant through the nursing homes. And
I'm just glad I'm not in a position to make decisions as far as that goes within this pandemic, because there's not going to be a lot of right answers. There's going to be a lot of goodwill and good efforts, but some things are just going to be wrong. And when we look back on this, hindsight being 2020, I think I hope we don't pass judgment too quickly on some of
let's
those.
go back to that question. Do people believe that Trump really has the COVID?
All right,
Because
let's go.
we did. Yeah, let's go back to that.
Berg, Berg. We never talked to you earlier.
Berg,
buddy.
what do you
Yeah, and we
think?
never talked to Mike, and now we're being joined by Greg, and we were still also
Well,
asking
Greg can
people
answer this
kind of the
question,
COVID
I
related
know.
question too. So
Yeah,
Did
Greg
every-
definitely knows the answer.
you take it from here.
Everybody.
You take it from here, Rick,
Yeah.
and then we'll get to Greg here for a second. There's gonna be some interesting shit
I
there.
don't see Greg. I just see his
He's
name.
coming on. He's coming on. Greg.
Oh, all right.
Greg takes a minute, but he's worth the wait.
Yeah.
Berg, tell us what you
There
think
he is.
about the whole. Did Trump really get sick, or what's going on, man?
Is that for real, Berg? What's up?
I think it's a whole diversionary thing. I don't think he really has it. He would be, I don't know. I mean, really, I hope he does. But
Yeah. See,
but in all reality, I don't think he has it. Personally, I don't know. I just don't believe our government. So,
Yeah.
Period.
Now, before I introduce Greg, Mike, I'll just ask your opinion on this subject matter, and then we'll get right to Greg.
He may have had minor symptoms. I mean, we on my Monday show, we have an epidemiologist all the time, and this came up yesterday. And he was saying in the beginning, though, when COVID takes over, particularly while he's had the steroids, he's had the other cocktails that the rest of us can't possibly get. So there may be a short-term bump to make him feel better and look better and handle it better. But by the end of this week or over the weekend, we'll find out whether or not he really has it, because then those symptoms are going to come back. The meds are going to wear off. But if you look at all the people around him in his inner circle who have tested positive, there's probably some credence to it. And as you mentioned earlier, he's a lot bigger than all of us thought. Would you say 322 pounds or something like
Yes,
that?
sir. Mhm.
Oh, baby. So, I mean, those overweight people, old overweight people are particularly susceptible to it, and bad things happen. So part of it is political theater. I mean, the whole driving around to wave to his fans, and then the speech, the Mussolini speech from the porch last night. I mean, come on. So, but that's him. He's a showman. So,
I'll say this: it'd be very difficult to fake coronavirus when you're at Walter Reed Medical Center, because you'd have to fake medical documents. You'd have to have a lot of people in on the cover story, and that just, the more people that are in on it, the more likely it is that something's going to leak. So the fact is that he may have been infected at some point. I can't say for sure one way or the other. I can say that the comeback that he's had is nothing short of remarkable for someone of his size, and I've heard physicians on network news say it. Let's bring into the show Mr. Gregory Pawlowski. Jamie, you want to tell people all about the wonderful things Greg does and Greg is? Because, he deserves it.
Greg is in city government, and he's in the dabbles in the cannabis industry also, I believe, unless that's not true. You're muted, by the way, Greg. And he's a city planner here. Yep, here in the city of Detroit, and
a fighter for justice.
He sure is. He's an advocate for cannabis, and he's gets in on some of the inner city local government conversations on it from time to time, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he's got some information on what's going on in Detroit a little bit, or at least some direction that it's heading in. So, Greg, anything else you want to announce about yourself, the company you're with, anything like that, and then let us know what's happening in Detroit.
Sure. I work for Fuego Extracts and the subsidiary or the parent company that owns it. And I am a Detroit City Planning Commissioner appointed by former Councilman George Cushingberry, and then reappointed by the current City Councilman Roy McAllister. And then not officially just yet, but unofficially, I was appointed by, or I guess I would say I'm Detroit City Mayor Mike Duggan's cannabis policy advisor. So on this past Wednesday night, I had a meeting with Mayor Duggan, and I thought I was there for one other reason for voting or feeling bad about Amazon and some of the issues with that at some of our past commission meetings. And anyway, it turned out to be nothing but cannabis, and I was very, very happy about that. Hi, can anybody hear me?
Yeah, man, you're doing great, man.
Yeah,
Tell us all the
listening to you,
secrets. Tell us the stuff you said you weren't going to say. Keep going. Keep going.
So we're just absorbing it.
Thanks. So, when he arrived, George Cushingberry got the meeting, right? And he was there at a particular restaurant in Detroit, in my district, District 2. Yep, right down the street from Jamie's place. And
the Lowell compound.
Yeah, and so, when Mayor Duggan walked in the room, of course, we all got up, and he shook George's hand first, and then he looked at me and he goes, "There's the cannabis guy." And then I gave him an elbow bump, and basically we sat down and we started talking, and lo and behold, the entire meeting almost was regarding cannabis policy with the city of Detroit and how it really was affecting a lot of folks here in the Detroit city, because it was very difficult for entrepreneurs here in the city of Detroit to enter into the program. And so he was asking my thoughts about it and where we wanted to go as a city. And I talked to him about the current ordinance, and he wants to push something relatively soon, which is great, but it truly needs to empower the residents of Detroit, not just those who want to do business in it. And so we had a discussion about that. We had a discussion about where the city wants to go regarding a couple of different areas regarding cannabis reform or cannabis policy. And I've always talked at the city commission level of the iceberg theory, where we had the 5 license types for medical marijuana and for adult use all on top of the iceberg, but there's so much more underneath the water of the iceberg underneath it. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, while the rest of it still needs to be constructed. And we talked about industrial hemp and what that could actually do for the city of Detroit. We talked about how we could utilize quite possibly some of the parcels that we have currently in big blocks areas of the city for something completely different. He even he even asked me, he says, does any other city in the state or in the country do anything like that? And I said, sir, not yet, and not to my best of knowledge, but hopefully we will. And so basically he's asked me to create a working group in the industry here in the city of Detroit for me to talk to and get see what the issues are, and then basically funnel them up to the mayor. So it's pretty cool.
That's very cool. You realize, of course, the city of Detroit sits on such a great opportunity to be a national leader, to set the example of a municipal ordinance that is both, creative from a social equity position, but also to take a municipal position on hemp production. You
Right.
have someone. It's not just that we talk about fallow fields in the city of Detroit, and that's true. But the amount of space to grow in the city of Detroit isn't really what's the biggest asset. The biggest asset is the industrial space you have available for large hemp processing and manufacturing machinery.
Absolutely. One of
People
the
would
things,
drive their hemp from other states to get to Detroit to have it processed if we were the leader in that.
right? Absolutely. We were talking about hempcrete, and there are a lot of people that just don't know about certain things and about what our industry can bring to the table, only if it's given an opportunity to be able to do what it do, so it can flourish. And we have 75,000 vacant parcels in the city of Detroit that the city owns. And part of the program would be to utilize some of those 75,000 parcels to hopefully grow industrial hemp. The mayor is gung ho and rightfully so about giving Detroit city residents a job, something to do, something to make a living, something to do, something. And we have the opportunity to do that. We have the ability to change a lot of people's lives, and maybe if that means the city of Detroit going back to an agricultural perspective, then that might be part of it. But the industries that can be surrounding it, like the hempcrete companies, and uh, not to mention, we can come up with a total green solution-based package, even for biofuel to fuel our vehicles here in the city of Detroit, to really give back, to be a kind of a carbon neutral city, and then even selling as a city, our carbon commodity or carbon credits at the stock market level. Because let's say, for example, in Chicago is the only stock exchange that'll take the carbon credits, and we could sell a ton of those, basically because we be a carbon neutral city. I mean, that's 670,000 student or people living in the city currently right now. That's huge.
Greg, are we
So-
down to 670,000?
The census is what the census is. The census number hasn't come in for this year, but as of last census, yes. But I don't know
Greg,
if you've ever heard me talking about insurance companies and how they push out the citizens of Detroit to go to outside cities such as Ferndale, Hazel Park, Warren, or whatever, and say they live out there. That way they save money on insurance rates. but I believe that is also in Constitution when it comes to the Census Bureau, because they physically live in Detroit, but they have an outside address to save money on insurance companies. The insurance, but anyway, regardless, that's another episode. Sorry.
Right. So Greg, besides the like products ultimately that can come from utilizing available land, there's a lot of areas in Detroit that are kind of polluted, and there's remediation possibilities with hemp
Absolutely.
also. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. The chief of staff currently in for Alexis Wiley at the mayor's office. I had a discussion with her this past week, I think Friday rather, for a few moments, and we talked about what industrial hemp can do for the city, as well as remediating toxic sites, especially the DPS sites that have been torn down. There's an awful large amount of those properties that have toxic lead and asbestos that is on the site still, so therefore the children cannot play on them. They cannot utilize them. There's signs up that says please no usage, so on and so forth. So let's say, for example, we put that there for a couple of years, take out all the asbestos and lead, then we have a nice large field available for either a community park or again for resale. There's quite a number of tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 supporters for FCA coming in. They would love probably to have the opportunity to have those type of remediation sites done to some of the toxic sites like the Packer plant, or even the old GM plants downtown in Midtown. Those sites are 30 acres plus, and we could remediate that after we raise all those buildings. Those would be some very large industrial areas that could be redeveloped. Oh, also just to let you know too, the mayor was under the assumption that that provisioning centers and retailers are the major employers for our industry, and I'm going to, part of my notes tonight to the mayor would be that actually his processing centers actually hire a lot more folks for its license type than any other license type out there, and invite him to the facility space that we have out in Jackson, which he's trying to get our company to move to Detroit, actually.
Well, first,
If I
Detroit
could leap in, I work real closely with IHEMP, Industrial Hemp Association of Michigan. We produce a show on Thursday, Zoom show. And what they like to point out is there's 20,000 different products you can create out of hemp. And what we really lack in the state of Michigan right now, as you said, is the processing, the infrastructure.
Yeah.
There's talk about, for instance, there's several people that are talking to the governor now about producing hemp textiles, because we have all that manufacturing prowess here in the state. And that would be a huge employer of people. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. I'm not so keen on the idea of growing the hemp in the city because, as you said, there's a lot of toxic kinds of areas. You wouldn't be able to use that crop for human consumption, but certainly you could use it for hempcrete and rope and all this other things we can make.
And that's what I told. And that's what I said to the mayor as
remediation
well.
is not for consumption. The goal of remediation is to take the hemp, remove the nastiness from the soil, and then throw that hemp away so that you can eventually use it for proper purpose.
Sure.
Right?
Correct. Yep. Yep. So yeah, I mentioned that to the mayor as well. I said it might not be suitable for human consumption, but it could have other alternative possibilities available to it. So I'm not going to throw any of it away until I find out from the experts, such as yourself or those in the know. I might know an awful lot about what we do, but I don't know everything what we do.
Yeah, there's a guy named Greg Schuler that you need to hook up with, and he's trying to create that hemp textile industry. And I know the governor's interested in doing that, but I just don't know where that is. I haven't talked to him in a couple of months, but I'd be happy to provide you.
Could you imagine having Whitmer and Duggan on the same page in this fight?
That would be how you make history.
Right.
Yeah.
Both those people aligned. Right.
Yep.
I mean,
I look at the bigger picture when it comes to politics. I look at a lot of different things, and I know that if Biden wins, Mayor Duggan is gone. He'll get a cabinet position. He's already the city or the state co-chair. He would be sitting in an excellent position to get one of the top, probably 6 secretary positions, wherever he wants. He's going to be on the transition team. So this is an opportunity for us as a community to work fast, work hard, and get something done prior to him leaving. But also, if he does leave, the bigger picture, the chess match kind of looks like Garland Gilchrist quite possibly could be running for mayor in the special runoff.
Having spoken to Mr. Gilchrist, who, for those who don't know, he is our current lieutenant governor, he is very pro us. Greg, I will say that, the idea of growing hemp in the city of Detroit sounds like a good idea, but without the infrastructure to process, we've seen a lot of people that have been in the hemp industry that have created a lot of biomass and don't have a whole lot to do with it because, they grew hemp flower for CBD production and it's oversupply. Jamie, you wanted to jump in?
I just think that I think part of it, and what Greg is saying too, is that there are areas that are like abandoned manufacturing sites
Yeah.
that could then be
Yeah. I'm not looking at creating Rome in a day, but I am looking at building a foundation that's solid and secure and will actually be able to do what we're looking for to do. I'm not, I work 40 plus hours a week for my job, and I'm always on the go. So I know how hard it is to fit public servant life into a busy schedule. And I know that Rome, again, wasn't built in a day. It'll take an awful lot in our army to get this done. I'm only one simple, like I said, public servant in the cog for the public change, for public change in this regard. So I look at this as an opportunity to get so much done, but do it right.
Greg, I can tell you that the people come to Detroit to see specific things. The giant fist, the spirit of Detroit, whatever it happens to be. If Detroit had a hempcrete sidewalk or a hempcrete structure of some kind, a hempcrete, whatever it is, a mosaic, an artistic thing made of hempcrete, people would come from all over because they would want to duplicate that in their city. It would really be
About a hempcrete fucking road. How about that?
Right, absolutely.
I don't think you can do that though. Actually, I think there's been some discussion about that.
It's more decorative than structural right now, but still, there's lots of stuff you could do with that type of surface.
So Rick, a couple years ago, prior to me coming on board as a city commissioner, I was engaged in doing some consulting for and promotion for an alternative energy exposition in the city of Detroit, and I met the executive director, producer for this program, and he's a TV Hollywood guy. He knows an awful lot of people. He knows a lot of the main donors to both political parties in the state of Michigan, specifically here in Detroit, including the Illiches. And he started a couple years ago a hempcrete building company. They had a current contract with Belize to grow or to build 20,000 hempcrete condos in Belize. And he said to me, he said, if you could get something done in Detroit, I will make Detroit my North American hempcrete headquarters. I mentioned that to the mayor. The mayor was very, very enthused. So just to add to the foundation base and the infrastructure, they would be bringing that in.
That's beautiful.
So, it just so happens that, it's like connecting all the dots. Finally, you put all the pieces of the puzzle together, and not all of them all match up. But sooner or later, they're going to eventually come together, and hopefully the picture or the portrait is really, really cool. And I think that over the latter part of the last 10 years, for us all working together on a lot of the bits and pieces, and everyone has their own expertise and their own way of doing things. We all really, really much like working with each other. When the mayor and the city, or the chief of staff was mentioning some of the same people that we've been doing business with and working with in one form or another in the state of Michigan, that lends a lot of credibility, not just to you, to me, but also to them as well. And I just look at it, and I'm in awe, that all the pieces are starting to come together where we all can work together on something really, really cool for the city of Detroit.
Greg, you and Jamie and I and Deb
And the state of Michigan too.
you know, we fought with the city council in Detroit to try and get wise cannabis laws there for a long time. I was threatened and yelled at because I was Caucasian. I didn't live in the city, and how I said, Greg was there at
That was a
times.
bad night. That was a bad night, Ray. That was a bad night. That was,
That was really bad.
That was the only time. That was the only time I actually walked out of a meeting.
It was
or
scary.
something. Oh, absolutely.
It got scary. People were shouting. I was bumped. An older woman with a walker bumped me. I'm like, whoa. Yeah, that was bad shit.
And that's where, something in that nature, if somebody was on the other side was having another type of meeting like that, we would show up, but we would be more respectful. We might
Yes.
tackle somebody, but only asking questions that are truly relevant.
We would heckle them. We wouldn't push them, right?
Yeah,
Well, I guess
exactly.
The point was not to rehash a past war story of ours, but really to say that we've been in this since when Detroit didn't want anything to do with us. The citizens didn't want anything to do with us. Council didn't want anything to do with us unless we had a check in our hand, and no one wanted to listen to what we had to say. And now you're schmoozing martinis with the mayor, and you're wheeling.
I didn't drink.
I know.
So, Greg, did you
know,
get the feeling from the mayor when he was asking if Detroit would be the first or amidst the first to embrace hemp in different ways? Did you get the feeling that was something he saw as a positive to be able to point out Detroit as a leader?
Yeah, and I even said that. I said, sir, we would be leading the way.
Yeah. Exactly, a national example, and doing the hemp thing sounds really, really good. But social equity and getting adult use started in Detroit. Let's talk about the big elephant in the room. Detroit has said no to adult use, while cities all around it are saying yes. They're losing opportunity. They're losing market share. They're diminishing the value of their properties as interested parties find locations in surrounding suburbs. So, what can we do to help Detroit come up with an adult use program? And maybe kick James Tate out of the mix and do it on our own or something.
Well, see now I got to be careful about what I kind of say, because I can't let the cat out of the bag before the mayor says it. But the mayor is definitely concerned with making sure that Detroiters have an opportunity in this market. They want to pull the trigger sooner rather than later. Personally, I said it in a concerned manner that during the State of the City address, when the mayor announced that he was proud of his association with Councilman Tate and his staff, was doing a great job. I thought that was a mistake, because it kind of took the policy opportunity out of the mayor's hands and put it into Councilman Tate's hands, who has acted slowly in a lot of ways for sure, but needs to have a more open understanding of what work study groups can truly do when you have such a major difference of activists. I think sometimes he's a little closed-minded, so therefore his policy is slow in developing. The mayor is a little bit concerned with that as well. Hence the reason why creation of a small roundtable activists and experts in the Detroit area is something that he's open to. He is definitely open to meeting with those folks as well that we select, or I select, and George Cushionberry selects. But it won't be too big where he won't listen to anybody, because he definitely wants to have one voice, going, rather than 18 personal agendas, that type of stuff. So he is definitely open to working with us and doing something sooner rather than later, but pieces of the puzzle again will come in slowly as we walk down the golden road.
So when you say sooner rather than later, there were some guests on Medical Mondays recently who were talking about something getting moved on this month.
Correct. Yeah. Mayor Duggan's been in a discussion with the state and regarding, like I said, putting Detroiters first. And, he has a right to be concerned, and he has a right to make sure that we in the city, who have not just lived here, but invested in here as well, have an opportunity to do something great. Social equity would also look as if for personal consumption areas. So even though Councilman Tate was probably against that, the mayor is for that. The micro businesses being set up in the city is another component piece of it, but more so the event production or event spacing or the event licensing would be a great opportunity for those as well to take advantage of. So there's quite a bit, but it's all pieces of the puzzle, but it needs to be worked on openly, a little bit more transparently, and probably a little bit with more vigor.
The concept of work grouping these things is certainly a tried and true methodology. It does mean that there are fewer secrets. When you have a dozen people at the table, you really have no expectation that every single person is going to keep their mouth shut all the time. But you shouldn't really be striving for secrecy. You should be striving for open dialogue about what can and cannot be done. I know that oftentimes the Detroit Legal Department would give us rulings or decisions when we propose certain things to them that we didn't agree with, that we didn't think aligned with the law. You're confident that the Detroit Legal Department would act in good faith in order to enact whatever program that you guys came up with?
Correct. Yeah, and that's the other part of this small roundtable of folks. I was going to talk to former Deputy Mayor Ike McKinnon to actually participate as well, being that he was a former police chief for the DPD. The ability for him to help me understand and negotiate the DPD inner workings, as well as their police commission, to change the standard operating procedures for the DPD and its subordinates is key and crucial. I mean, now we're talking about an age of helping and supporting and protecting these investments, these businesses, these folks in the city. When in reality, years ago, decades ago, and 90 years ago, is knock them down, take their money, take their assets out the door, you go.
6 months ago, Greg.
Yeah,
6 months ago it was like that.
Yeah, I understand. I got it. I know. But since then, there really has not been any raids. The mayor doesn't want that type of. He doesn't. As a former prosecutor, he was like, we don't want to do this. I mean, I see it in his eyes. I mean, let me just say I was very honored to actually be in his presence. Actually, he has done a lot for the city, sometimes in question, but in most parts he has done what he is there to do, which is serve the general public and try to create a better, safer, more just city. And I believe with his thought process and his theology right now regarding this possibility being part of it for that city, I'm humbled by it. I mean, there aren't too many public servants or mayors of big metropolitan areas that are looking at this as a possibility, especially when COVID virus is right here.
Right.
And we've lost so many jobs, and in the city of Detroit, where 25% of our jobs are in the hotel, restaurant, public service industry, we're not going to get those bad jobs back. Not serving 5 people or 10 people in a restaurant what used to fit 40 or 50. So what's going to replace it? We build an industry not just for Detroiters, but for the entire state of Michigan. We don't have to worry about those service jobs anymore. People will be making more money than they've ever felt like they could make in their life. If we have the possibility of creating that, shit, Rick, I'm all for that.
People want to live close to where they work. And if you give incentives to make sure that brand new manufacturing infrastructure for the hemp or for the cannabis industry, or an expansion of the existing cannabis industry, that takes place on Detroit soil, you will improve property values, you will sell more houses, you will gain more tax structure, you will gain more more opportunity for municipal and community improvement. I mean, win, 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 win.
Right.
All the way
I mean,
around.
let's just look at the auto industry, for example. We were talking about infrastructure before and how we may not have it, but we have the big three here, and they helped. We're looking for partners. We're looking for coalition members. Yes, we're looking for those who have invested interest in the city that, for whatever reason, in the past would that destroy the city, taking the jobs out of the city and not doing what they were supposed to do for their current plants being in blight. And if we could somehow say, hey, we'll forgive all that, but promote our industrial hemp, put it in your products, put it in your auto parts, be like Henry Ford, create the first industrial hemp farm or car, try to bash it with a sledgehammer, and you can't do it. You want to,
No, you gotta tell him to be not like Ford because he didn't mass produce that shit.
I'm not. Well, he did grow. He did. Yeah, he did grow. He grew the gas for it on his property.
The next step.
You know, but you're right. He did not put it into mass production, unfortunately.
But be more innovative, I guess, is what you're trying to say.
And
hey,
less
Colin,
racist,
how you doing, buddy?
too. Less
Yeah.
racist would be good as well.
And there's many things, man.
No, I totally agree. But I mean, but what I meant by in a bigger picture is just look at the innovation that's possible, and we do have the network of other organizations and industry that have the framework and the foundations already there. We're just asking them to retool.
Greg, I'm going to tell you right now, I talk to a lot of people out there shopping for real estate, for cultivation centers or for processing centers or for other cannabis related things, including, some hemp operations. And one of the biggest complaints they have is they don't have proper electricity, they don't have proper water, they don't have proper sewer. They'd have to upgrade the poles, they'd have to upgrade the infrastructure in order to make it happen. The perfect, real estate opportunity gets wasted because they'd have to put too much into spending to bring all of those utilities there. Detroit's all got all of that stuff. You guys are already tooled for that. Anybody that locates in the city doesn't have to worry about things like that.
No.
You're already equipped. We talk about establishing infrastructure. Detroit's already got a lot that can be capitalized upon.
Absolutely does. Yeah. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel very long or, very much. So we're just adding a little Detroit twist.
Nice. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. What other messages might you have, or what's going on with Fuego? If you want to talk about that.
Nothing. I mean, we just launched a new gummy line. We're in a bunch of stores. I'm assuming you probably just have to go through Weed Maps to take a look at where we're at. But things are going very well. Just looking to expand more and more.
I've been doing activism with Greg since, I don't know, Greg, 11 or 12, something like way back then.
Yep.
When you first came to Michigan here, I think.
I've been in Michigan since 2001, but 2010 is when we all got basically hooked up.
Yeah, even before the first Repeal Today movement.
Yep.
That's true. So.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure, and like I said, I just look forward to more public service.
Roach, what the hell was that? I mean, tell me
Hey,
about this.
you guys know Greg already, don't you? Do you know Greg?
Do you know him?
I've met Greg in the past, man. He's a cool dude.
Damn you, Roach.
I never heard of this guy. I mean, this is for real, what you're saying?
Well, no,
Wow.
okay, before I was speaking facts, if he would have hung out, I'll give you my opinion now. Like, I think what he does is coonery buffoonery. Like, he's a total ass clown weed whore.
Really?
And he's out here with like gold chains and like these velour suits, like he's on The Sopranos or something. He really is in his head about how to represent Fuego and be the top brand in metric. And he's like a joke, man. And I hear Greg, and I know Greg isn't about that bullshit, but they're like two sides of the same coin. And I'm just wondering how that adds up.
Greg would look good in a velour suit, though.
Yeah, he'd be cute in a tracksuit for real.
I would just think like how it generally goes is it's public, I guess, if what you're saying, if you're viewing things like this and describing it like that, then probably others are. So you know, it might work for them or it may not. And, you know, that his approach will play itself out and it'll take care of itself probably over.
You know, there's stuff where he's like on opiates talking about suicide. And that's the part that like really bothers me the most, man. Like every other week he's acting like he's one of these rappers that, you know, unfortunately have passed away at a young age, you know, like the Juice WRLD and Little Peep. And he's like going through some stuff, man. And I get it. If you having personal issues, man, like, you know, I get down sometimes too, but I don't try to put that vibe out there and like infect everybody else with my sadness.
Wow. I got some sadness to say. Colin, Dave just walked in and said Eddie Van Halen died.
No way.
That's what just happened.
Yeah.
Wow, huh?
That's
Man.
Eddie Van Halen died? Oh.
Yeah.
That's what Dave just
So
said.
is that confirmed?
I had just heard it.
Me too.
Dave just told me, yeah. Wow. All right. Breaking news.
That sucks.
That hurts.
Yeah. It says it on the internet. Oh.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I just haven't seen Greg, and like I've always wanted to ask him that.
Oh, dude.
I mean,
I was like, wow, is this for real?
Greg has been on Medical Mondays in the past. And like once like Forever J popped up, it just surprised me. I didn't really think like Greg still messed with Fuego because of Forever J. I mean, today was the first time me hearing that he was still involved with Fuego. So
Are they the same people that had the dispo on 8 Mile called Fuego? Is it the same people or it's not? You don't know?
The Fuego brand.
I don't know much about it, but
dispensary, but they've had their product in dispensaries from the black market.
No, this was a dispensary.
They're in the legal market as well.
I don't know.
It's like on the east side off 8 Mile.
Much about the details of any of this stuff, but they are, you know, a licensed company and they are subject to all the market forces. And if what's going on doesn't work, they'll feel it that way. But anyway, let's keep on talking unless somebody needs to clear anything up. We're going to join.
We have Danielle with us.
Yeah, you're sideways, Danielle, as usual. See if you can straighten yourself up.
Oh, hey, Danielle.
Turn the phone
camera
the other way.
Yeah, turn your phone. There you go. Yeah.
Sit up straight. Come on.
Doing this. Hi, guys.
Now smile.
Hi, everyone.
So anyway, I wanted to interject during the show at some point that we are celebrating our 1-year anniversary at the Botanical Company's house this month. A lot of stuff going on. 20 green trees. Amanda went up and did a little interview and a little review of our place. It's going to be aired on Planting Green Trees on Thursday night. And Danielle did a great job with that. I've seen it. So that'll be kind of cool. But basically, it's about, you know, paying some attention to our first successful year. And so what's going on up there? What kind of cool stuff are we doing to help celebrate?
Yeah, we have lots going on. So it was a group effort. So congratulations to the whole Botanical Company team, obviously. But we have so much going on. So lots of big news. We are getting ready to open our vertically integrated facility in Lansing. So very excited about that. That will be provisioning, cultivation, our Franklin fields, and also processing will come online last. So we're really excited about that. So lots of work, long time coming. We're just thrilled. And then next big project that we're doing simultaneously, because we love to do lots of work all at once. We've been working on Kalkaska provisioning as well. And also, which is super exciting, I think everybody's really excited about this, is our social use lounge. So yeah, lots of good things coming at the Botanical Company, so stay tuned.
Love to hear that.
And this month there's like all types of extra special available specials and deals and events and things like that. We're going to kind of spread out the celebration throughout the month. And
Yeah, we definitely pivoted a little bit. We definitely wanted to, we kind of thought before COVID, we wanted to do a big customer appreciation event. And we kind of imagined it being a little bit different. But obviously with social distancing and the pandemic, we rethunk it a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're just going to spread out the celebration all month long. So we're going to have some just great discounts for our guests. We're going to have vendor days. We're going to have a special guest, and I'm not going to say who that is, but stay tuned because that's going to be really exciting. So we just thought, well, we'll just kind of spread the fun out all month long so we can make sure that we're social distancing and kind of controlling the flow and things like that. So we're going to, instead of packing all the fun into one weekend, we're going to spread it out all month long.
Awesome. Yeah, that is really cool. It seems that year went by pretty quickly, but it's gone down.
Just
like it's been a weird year too, of course, but
yeah.
Well, but you did some pretty great things. I remember a highway cleanup. I also remember sponsoring a comedy event to go for little hockey guys and several other
youth hockey league. Yeah.
So within the first year of the Botanical Company being in Tawas, you've really done a good job returning your investment to the community.
School supplies too for the great local grade school.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Absolutely. We just had a school supply drive as well. And that being said, Northeast Michigan has really welcomed us with open arms. They couldn't be more welcoming. So we're very blessed to be part of that community, and obviously the cannabis community there as well.
Nice. So, before we go, and I'm happy you came on because I wanted you to help celebrate this a little bit, of course, with us. And, you've done such a great job there this last year.
Thank you.
Just before we go, what are your thoughts about this industry and your placement and how things are working out?
Sorry.
You've been through a couple of things, since the commercial side of this stuff got started. And, what are your views on it? Your thoughts on that?
I am, well, on a personal note, I am humbled to be part of this industry. I never was able to relate when people would say, if you find something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I couldn't ever relate to that before I started working in the cannabis industry. I started working, it was the beginning of 2017, and it was a bit of a rocky start. But that's okay. I was able to find a home, and, I think those hardships are lessons, and that's all right. And I would be remiss not to honor the people that came before me, and long before ever the first license was ever issued, there was people like yourself and many, many people that were fighting for the cannabis industry to get its teeth here in Michigan. So,
and then Rick came on later on. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I'm very honored and humbled to be part of this. And I pinch myself every single day. So I'm just excited to, I think we have a long way to go when it comes to social equity and all the things that this industry can be in Michigan. But I think we're on the right track. We're still fighting the good fight, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it, quite frankly.
Really appreciate it. And again, this has been a really great year, and you've definitely been the driving force behind that store up there, and it's been a real pleasure.
Can you give us the address and maybe a website for the Botanical Company and how they might be able to find you or track your products?
Absolutely. The address is 1885 East US 23, East Tawas, Michigan, 48730. And you can always find our listings on Weed Maps and Leafly, of course. That's the easiest way. You can find our menus easily as well. And you can always find us on our website too, which is www.thebotanical.co.
I understand you might sometimes have coupons in the Rolling Paper magazine. Would that be true?
We do. They've been so supportive. Chris and his team there have been really have been our partners since the beginning, and have been wonderful partners. So yeah, absolutely. We have coupons, and any happenings that may be going on in our East Tawas store, pick up a rolling paper. You'll find them there.
That's
all true. Hey, thanks a lot, Danielle. Really appreciate it. And maybe we'll have you check in from time to time and see what's going on. All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me on.
Yep.
Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Have a good night. Thanks. Well,
yet another excellent segment for our show today.
Yeah. So I want, we are celebrating a year. I don't mind, promoting and supporting the Botanical Company at all.
Yeah.
But it is kind of
Awesome
cool
people.
that it's been a year and things have been pretty cool. And that little video clip is pretty cool too. So people should check that out.
Well, while we've got Mike on the phone, why don't we take a moment to talk about 420 Post here, and,
Sure.
we'll get that information out there, and then maybe Jimmy can talk about Ohm as he's been dying to do afterwards.
Yeah.
Mike, tell us a little bit about the show that you and I do.
Well, we do it every Wednesday, and it's on Facebook Live, and we do it from, I make sure I get my times right here, from 1 to 2. And then what Rick does is he comes on and gives you the latest cannabis news, so what's happening around the state, around the country. Then we typically have a guest or two in. Then Jamie Cooper follows up at the end, where from Sensi Connects, of course. And so she'll talk about what's going on within her group or within the cannabis community. And it's more of a cannabis business show. I mean, we're really looking at the business of cannabis going on primarily in the state of Michigan, but who knows, maybe later on we'll expand it beyond the borders. Illinois, of course, has gone cannabis, and we're waiting to see what's going to happen with some of these other states that surround us. And then once we get done with the live, we break it down into segments that we then supply as video on demand. And those can be found at my primary publication, which is Michigan Marijuana Report, which is mimarijuanareport.com. So you can view the individual segments. You can view the whole show, whatever you feel like you want to do. And of course, Rick is the co-host of the show. Appreciate that, Rick, very much. We've had Jamie on the show, and I'm sure we'll get Jamie back again soon. But we want to make sure, as I said, there's a lot of shows out there you can look at. Ours, as all my shows are really business oriented, and so we give you that point of view.
Mike, you also do some work on the radio. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm on the Internet Advisor on Saturdays, which is on WJR. I do about a 5-minute news segment that talks about my primary website, by the way, for those who don't know, is Michigan Technology News, which I've been doing for 20 years since I left the Free Press. Hard to believe, back in 1999. And so that we do a lot of stuff there with what's happening with entrepreneurs, what's happening with technology. So that's a really pure business show. And so what happens when I'm on WJR on the Internet Advisor Show is they'll ask me about those headlines, because that demographic there at WJR is the AM demographic. And a lot of them are, well, shall we say, grandparents who want to communicate with their grandkids that don't understand the technology. So it's really technology focused. And so then I update them with what's happening, what some of the major headlines of the week as they appear on mitechnews.com. And then on Thursdays, I do the iHemp Hour. I produce that show for the Industrial Hemp Association of Michigan. And it's if you're a hemp farmer or a wannabe hemp farmer, it's a great show, because every week we bring on some guest that tells you how to do something. And me being a city guy, I've learned a hell of a lot, because one of the things I've learned is I don't want to be a hemp farmer because it's way too much work, so talk about a 24/7 job. So yeah, we have the 4 shows right now that we do live, and that's really the future that we're moving in. We're developing our own proprietary video platform, so we won't have to use Zoom. And hopefully we'll have that ready pretty soon. And then, that's where everything is. All the action on social media these days is video. And so we have to follow the audience and do what the audience wants, right?
We do. And that's what podcasting has evolved into. It's been very popular because of COVID, but even before, there was a lot of people launching podcasts. It's a pure way to get your message out there, and people can search through all the different podcasts, find the voices that they like, and develop an affinity for. Look at Rogan, right? That's probably, and Adam Carolla. There's a lot of different people you could name as successful podcasters. Apparently not that messy J dude from Fuego, though. He's not very.
Yeah, what was that all about, huh? Yeah,
I'm not
wasn't
probably.
sure.
He did
But
try.
yeah, why not? Sure, so yeah, no, it's the upside potential, as you all know, you've been in this industry, covering this industry, or involved in the industry far longer than I have, but the upside potential is enormous for Michigan. So when we first decided 18 months ago to begin covering it, I have a very conservative business audience on my main show. And I said, look, we'd be fools not to, cover what's probably going to evolve eventually into one of the top 3 or 4 industries in the state. You got autos, you got tourism, you got ag, and somewhere in there, cannabis is going to be, or cannabis/hemp is going to be, ranked there. It's just wait to see. And I've seen all sorts of numbers about where it's going to go. And right now, of course, it's just guesswork, but there's a lot of people who have applied for licenses for one thing or another in this industry. Because I look at the MRA stuff, the licenses all the time, and there's a whole bunch of people that have applied. Not all of them aren't out there actually doing it yet, but they will be soon.
You're absolutely right. This industry is just hugely expanding, and information transfer is one of the difficult things to do. We see print media failing. We see newspapers going to online sources. More people are trusting online information sources than actual print sources that they see, or television-based sources. So doing things like what we do, it's very important, and it is the future.
One of the things, I was a newspaper reporter for 20 years around the country and working in different markets. And of course, what a reporter does is he or she observes, and then they write, and you can't help but get their point of view into the story. I mean, you try not to, but it still shows up. But doing video, you get it straight from the sources. You see and hear what the people are saying, and then the audience makes up their mind what's true, what's not true, what's going on. So it's a much better way to do it.
Yeah, vocal inflection, looking at someone when they're speaking. Oftentimes sarcasm is missed when it translates to the printed word. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Speaking of podcasts, let's talk a little bit about Medical Mondays. We got Berg and Roach, both the 2 hosts of Medical Mondays, on. Talk a little bit about your show, gentlemen.
It's every Monday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. on YouTube. It's Medical Mondays podcast on YouTube. You can find us on IG also. And it's just Medical Mondays. So yeah, we'll keep you informed. And we have awesome giveaways. And what else you guys say, Roach?
I don't know. We definitely have awesome giveaways. I think we have some pretty awesome guests. I apologize for being late, fellas, but man, I got caught up in that Michigan Ganja Queen brisket. It was so good.
Michigan Ganja Queen dropped off some food to the boys the other day, and they were teasing us with it last night.
Oh, man. She is the best. We've got awesome sponsors, like pretty much the best in their respective field, and I'd say probably the best part about it, we're more centered towards the patient, towards the, not to sound cliche, but, your average Joe or Jane that's a patient or somebody who really is into clean meds, because we go after the jokers that are out there trying to push that BS across the line. And we try to spotlight the people that are doing good and are trying to help, and try to connect the dots between those that need help and those that want to help. So, yeah, we're Medical Mondays. Tune in.
Yeah, and I oftentimes refer to stuff that's information learned or discussed previously on this show as part of another conversation. I've been there's a lot of round robin support for these things, and obviously Mike described 420 Post, which takes even a different slight angle on it, and a lot of these same issues are discussed with these different perspectives.
Well,
it's a cool thing.
We even talked today about some of the stuff that we mentioned with Greg. We learned on Medical Mondays, and we were able to intellectualize up that conversation because of our our dialogue with Calixium, right? Those
Yep.
ladies are so fine.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Collexium. They're one of our recent guests. You can go watch that on YouTube right now. All our old shows are still up. You can even see the show with Forever J if anybody's curious to know more. Um, but yeah, no, we really try to tap into, you know, what's going on the front lines, and let the people that, you know, might not have the time to go to every dispensary or go to every event and meet every cultivator and grower and processor, and give them a place where they can meet and maybe get some questions answered and some information. And you know, if we have a good laugh, then, you know, mission accomplished.
And we do have a good laugh on Medical Mondays. You know, it's their show. Jamie and I have been joined in for the last couple of months, but we, you know, it is, you know, your funny bone gets worked out a little bit.
Oh yeah, Jamie's great. You guys, if you guys like Jamie here, man, you should see him on Medical Mondays, man. Works a little blue.
Later night stuff, man.
Yeah. Oh, like Playboy After Dark, right? Okay, sure, that's what it is.
I don't think Michael realizes how Rick is on Medical Monday either, though. Oh no.
Yeah, he's not quite Lenny Bruce, but there you go.
Yeah. We let it loose a little bit, but you know, Mike's not afraid to affiliate with me. Thank you very much for trying to scare him away, though. I appreciate that. Nice. No. Here comes this denial. Go ahead, Mike. Say it.
No, I love working with you, Rick. And you know, you're certainly a treasure trove of information when it comes to this industry that I'm just still coming up to speed on it. You know, I'm really a technology and business reporter, and so the marijuana scene, I mean, okay, so I've been doing it since college, but that's much different than you know, covering it and
Yeah.
really learning about who the players are. And I still have a long ways to go, but I think we've made progress. And certainly when I bring you experts on the show, that really helps a lot, because I just try to moderate the show and let you guys talk, because you're the experts. You know more about this than I do. And so that's really my role. So.
Well, oftentimes a straight up interview show, which is essentially what 420 Post is. We do essentially interviews, and then when there's extra time, we have a little bit of a round table. But when you're doing that, you're really featuring, you know, three or four individual stories.
Sure.
Those guests are bringing their own tale to it, and it's a lot easier to tell that story than it is for 2 hours of us bantering with each other. And
Well, yeah, that's kind of I'm a by the book journalist, so I mean I'm really pretty organized. So when I attack something and produce something, I have something in my head already that I've done in the past and that works. And so and that's what we've done with all the shows. Is iHemp Hour is more long and rambling, but it's only an hour long, but tends to have one or two guests. And again, if you want to learn about hemp farming, and it's way beyond me, baby. I don't work that hard. I mean, when they tell me what they're doing, I go, forget it, you know. So
Yeah, no, believe it or not, Michael, I listened to 950 and I've heard the commercial for iHemp, and I've been trying to catch it. I mean, I haven't tried too hard, but one day, and I'm probably going to be locked in after that. But yeah, no, 950 is a pretty cool channel, man.
it's a super station. It broadcasts such a high volt.
It's actually 760. 950 is the other guy. So the iHemp Hour is also on Facebook. If you go to iHemp Michigan, all the shows are there, and they have a YouTube channel where they have all the shows. And so what we're talking about, maybe doing it once, because right now we're moving into the harvest season, obviously, and once that gets done. And then we're talking about maybe doing some kind of video. I'm not sure what to call it yet, because we're still thinking about it. But the best of iHemp. I mean, so it's instead of having to watch an hour-long show and you got to watch 12 of them or something, you know, we take the snippets. All right, if you want to start out as a hemp farmer, this is what you need to do, and then at this point you need to do this, and because right now we're still in the experimental year. The Farm Act of 2018 is when they legalized hemp farming around the country. And so right now, Michigan is under its own rules, but on November 1st, it has to comply with federal rules, and we're waiting to see how that's all going to play out. So right now, everyone's heads. Last year's was not very successful for most hemp farmers. One of the reasons that, like Rick points out, is we don't have any processing in the state. So I mean, they grow all this stuff, and then what? And of course, the other big issue is if it gets more than 0.3% THC, you're dead. You can't use the crop. So one of the things that the DEA is weighs in heavily on this, and one of the things they're hoping that it'll happen is they'll raise that THC level to at least 1%, because it's really hard to grow a crop that with that tiny bit of a window before you go hot and then can't use it. So, but anyway, we'll try to get all that stuff available for next year when folks are thinking about maybe why I want to grow hemp. How do I do that? And hopefully we'll have that video tutorial for them to do that.
Repackage it and market it, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Jamie, I know you wanted to talk about Ohm, and I think we've reached the time of our show when it's about good for us to do that.
Yeah. I guess just to get started with here, and I'm not going to try to drag any of it out. I get kind of like right to what I think. It has to be pointed out that there's some lawsuits here, and there are different perspectives, and there could be stuff that develops or gets presented that could change, what I think. But I was driven originally. It's just such a sensational situation to have Ohm ultimately be accused of taking like a racist position.
Can you explain for our viewers that may not know the backstory?
Yeah. I'm going to ramble through because I'm just trying to kind of collect some thoughts here for a minute. But what it comes down to is a kind of a dispute with some workers who claim that they were, let go because they were prevented from defending or exposing a racist position or trying to work against racism or some wording thereof.
Pursuing a union.
Well, that's part of it too, that's a separate issue. Kind of like, I guess, there's a few things that have been talked about that are known, and their perspective is that they were, let go when they should not have been, for what's taking place, and the company's going to argue that they are. So whatever really comes out of that is going to be the ultimate story. And I don't have access to every little bit of information, but I wanted to see if there were any real issues with Ohm, because there was a situation where an out-of-state larger company came in and joined forces with Mark. Mark is still there. He's on the board with it. Mark Passerini, who is from the former Ohm. And I think it's also kind of agreed with that, Ohm of pre-licensing, Ohm of like several years in Ann Arbor of just local tolerance and working toward being a big part of working toward getting things move forward. It was a great place. It was exemplary for what they do.
And, are these new employees with the new organization, or are these old time employees that they've had for a while?
These were older time employees. That's what makes it even more difficult because they're very cool and they've done a lot of great stuff.
Okay,
so go ahead.
They've been credible in the past, but you feel that they're not being credible now. What was the exact? I mean, have they
I didn't quite
what the racism charge was?
I didn't quite say that. So I'm trying to bring all this together.
I'm not trying to say that at all. I'm just wondering what was the exact accusation. I keep hearing everybody dance around it, but what exactly did they say?
Well, I'll tell you what I can discern. I'll try to get right to, because I know I said I wasn't going to try to. Sorry.
Well, you don't have to get into the details of the actual suit itself if you don't want to. I know that it's.
But
I got it. Let me try to get right to it.
Public information.
I was starting to, everything I'm talking about is known by the public, and I'm basing it all off what's easily discernible from what's been discussed out in the media and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, fair enough.
And so my motivating factor was like, it's such a sensational idea that would be part of anything that Ohm would do. But there are these new people who are there. There's this presence alongside Mark. I'd like to think that Mark wouldn't necessarily align himself with people who would be predisposed to that, but if there's something there that really points to them taking those kind of positions, or Mark even joining them and taking those kind of positions, then, you know, I wanted to see if you could tell what it is, or if there was something that pointed to it. So they claim that they asked for like a you know, public support for, and I don't mean to be against them, kind of, I'm just talking about what's being said out there, and I'm predisposing. I don't really see that there's much support for it, but that they wanted the company to make a public announcement about being in support of Black Lives Matters and support for the things surrounding you know, Mr. Floyd, who died by the Minnesota police, or Minneapolis police. And they sent out a, so the story goes, they sent out instead of a public statement, they sent out an internal email, which is in the, you can find on their social media.
That's in the newspaper article.
In the newspaper article, stuff like that. And then they point out things that they took issue with, and, you know, there's some perspective stuff. I read it and I thought it was pretty reasonable. And in the people behind this larger company don't have a kind of a we're just going to get in this and make money background. They've all been involved with many efforts and activism and advocacy efforts with NORML, with Students for Sensible Drug Policy, with National Cannabis Institute Association. The director, the head of the organization, Chris Crane, is a journalist with Forbes who has many articles published in which his views are easily found and regularly found on many of these issues, and including social equity and things like that. One of the people on the board is a woman named Betty Aldworth, who used to be head of Students for Sensible Drug Policy, and she came and spoke at Hash Bash a few years ago.
She was awesome.
And we hung out with her and talked to her a lot about these things, and to think that she's part of an effort that would, you know, that would allow that or make that product. Yeah, I went there and I asked her, and I asked her just a few questions. We couldn't discuss anything, obviously, because of the, you know, pending lawsuits and all that. But I did ask what the demographic of workers in the store is, and it's 45% Black or Indigenous people of color. There are 8 stores nationally associated with this organization. None of them have any issues similar to this. There's nothing that is parallel in any kind of policy or issue with workers or staff or anything like that, you know, along these lines. They don't have an issue with unionization. They stated that. That's in the article. If the people do go through the process that exists, and they're not getting in the way, they're not trying to thwart it, or, you know, that's what they say. And there was another issue too about how they give money to the police, which turns out to be a donation to like a periodical thing or something like that, with which they get like an ad in, and then that helps to raise money for the police picnic, and people up and down the Main Street who are in the business community typically contribute to that. It's very common. We did that at Third Coast.
I don't get it though, Jamie. What they refused to make a public statement about Black Lives Matter. That's what this is about. That the company
there's a combination of these things that there's a combination of these things that show up in the article that are a basis for, you know, issues. Again, you know, there's a perspective.
I'm wondering
out there
why
that I'm
they
sure
wouldn't
somebody
make a
can have.
public statement though. I'm wondering why they wouldn't make a public statement.
This is what is said. Okay, so like
yeah. So maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm just wondering
who's answering what. Regardless,
who's answering
what was said.
Right.
Even if they didn't make a public statement, that doesn't result in taking a racist position. You know, but they did do this, and so there's a perspective issue here between whether or not it was reasonable. There's some things underlined in that by that organization, or by those people, by the employees in question, that they take issue with, but. You know, they'd have to
specific employees. I mean, specific people that they've said these are the specific people who are racist people in the organization, or is it they're considering the whole? They're accusing the whole organization of racism.
There's probably an expanded conversation here, and certain things that have to be known more in detail to, you know, to know exactly who means what by what. But they're suggesting that, you know, that they should not have been fired, and that it was racially motivated because they were trying to be prevented.
So, and then they staged a walkout after the firing, or was it before the firing? Did they fire him after the walkout?
After the
so
firing.
Then the other employees said, okay, fuck this, we're gonna have a walkout on this. And what happened to those employees? Are they still employees, or have they've been gone too?
I don't know if, again, I don't know if all of those were employees or some of those people were supporting them in it, but I'm pretty sure it was
like a lot of people. It's not that
I think there's three people that were involved in this, possibly two, but I think three. And again, like a really good, record, and it's just really kind of unfortunate, the whole bigger story, especially kind of watching it from the sidelines and stuff, knowing how everybody's kind of cool in their own way, and whatever's going on is going on, and there's going to be, final answers to a lot of this stuff, and that could change, the facts that we know, and that would change the perspective and all that kind of stuff. But I just want to say that Ohm is awesome. And they have been for many years.
Always.
I had a place down the street for them for a long time, and I used to call them my favorite place. And people should reserve judgment unless they feel satisfied by.
Yeah, I've always thought they were cool people too. We've had great fundraisers there. They've always been cool people.
I'm not satisfied by what's being said and what's being presented as reasons for believing that they would,
Yeah, it's just a lot of shit though. When you hear stuff like that, it makes you pause because, things like that are happening. And, I'm not saying they're happening there, but I'm just saying things like that are happening. And, you have to really pay attention to stuff now. You can't just say,
one individual manager can say something or do something that is out of character for the entire business itself. And
that's what happened here in Ferndale with the restaurant chain.
So it's entirely possible that both of those situations are true, that they are an upstanding group of people, except that in one instance they fell down.
Or they have somebody working there that should obviously is not good for the company and not good for the employees. There's something's not right.
If I could add a little bit and say, like, I don't know anybody in that situation. I've never been to Ohm or anything, so I'm not speaking about that situation specifically, but like, now is the time for all of this. Like, with all the issues and things going on around the country and the world, it's getting to a point where, you've got to choose one side or the other. There's no more, riding the middle. And I feel like there are a lot of closet racists out there. So, I hope this isn't the case over there.
Yeah,
but
I find it hard to believe.
If it is, then it needs to be exposed, and the evidence
certainly
will
not
bear that out, and then.
And this is a process through which that would be exposed, is what's going on right now. If that was,
we've all been shocked lately on social media. I mean, while we tweeted them out over the months, and you're just like, what? People you've known for years.
Some things are obvious exaggerations here. I mean, there's somebody, I'm not sure where the information came from, but somebody posted on a listserv that one of the things they were accusing, even stepping outside of their own organization now, and accusing the redemption, Ryan Basor's redemption line of products from not coming through with what he says and donating to those who have been adversely affected by the war on drugs, specifically the war on cannabis. So that for sure, and I think Rick could also verify, is a lie, because
who the hell said that?
Yeah, and how does that tie in with Ohm? Just because they're carrying the product line?
Well, this is part of the, from what I've heard of, is like some of the accusations because of the associations, with Ohm. It's like that's the kind of shit they support, or whatever it is. It seems like flinging a lot of negative things surrounding this whole thing.
Well, everybody supports Ryan Basor. Come on.
And I'm just saying that I know for sure because, like, for example, Rick and I are on the foundation that Ryan created, and so and he's doing some cool shit actually, and so it is going down. That thing is happening, and he is doing what he said, and he's doing it because he's wanted to do this. He has a passion to do it. There's no pulling wool over anyone's eyes here. This is all real, and it's going down. It's being effective.
He's doing
a great job with it.
When you have strong arguments and we have all the truth and the facts on your side, you don't need to sling mud and bring other people in. When your arguments are weak, or when you see people are not accepting what you're saying as fact, that's when you start to widen the net of guilt. So when we see people reaching beyond those initial players in this game to try and throw shade on others that they're associated with, that's not really a position of strength.
And I
I'm
think
going
it's
to
an
reserve
exaggeration.
judgment.
Yeah, I think we all should.
Well, there's a
should.
process that's in place and everything will come out then, and that could change things. But these are talking about things that we know, and one of them is the small contribution to the fund for the police picnic thing, and trying to confuse that with like giving money to the police in some kind of nefarious way or something like that. So there's questionable shit here, you know, like, and they don't like the fact that it's unionization, but they're saying, look, we're fine with it. There's no evidence.
Yeah, but I also read, Jamie, that Ohm said that that these people were demanding that they recognize the union, and that's not how a union card check goes. Because I've been involved in union organizing, but you don't go in and demand anything. You do a card check, and then when you get about 65%, you take them and you say, look, 65% of your employees have signed this card check. That they want to unionize. You can have a choice here. You can either just recognize us as a union, or we'll hold an election, and if we win, then you'll have to bargain with us. And that's set by law, and that's how it's done. So I did read that Ohm said that they had demands put on them to unionize. So I'm not so sure that they're union friendly. They might be saying they are at this point, but I'm not so sure they were at the beginning.
Well, but the methodology is wrong there too, because there are multiple unions to pick from, and two people don't decide this is the union we want you to use, and that's all.
And I don't know the whole story behind who's.
That's not how it works, Rick. You form a.
I don't know who has done what.
I know how it's supposed to work.
You know.
Yeah, I know how it's supposed to work.
You know, I don't know.
You do a card check. That's what you do. And,
right, but I don't know who has done what or
so I don't know
tried what or anything like that. Now, if they said we demand this, then the Ohm is right in saying that was bullshit.
Yeah,
that you did it like that. But if you go through this proper process, then we're fine with it. So that's what they said. And
you do a card check and you come in and you say, here, we've done the card check. I mean, that's what I'm saying. So I don't understand how this fell apart. It's United Food and Commercial Workers. I did read that, and that's the union that I actually. You know, I formed a committee at an employer. It was called Douglas Food, and we had a card check, and we had an election. So I followed this all through. We ended up in federal court on it. And I know if you have to do it a certain way, boom, 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 otherwise it's not legal. So perhaps they didn't do it a certain way. Maybe they did march in and say, we demand.
I don't know any of those details.
It just seems like there's more to it than this.
Yep.
You know,
we'll get more stuff, but so far I'm not convinced that Ohm has taken a racist position, even in the new
I don't know.
Multi-operating corporate form that they're in. I think they're somebody would have to produce something a little bit more for me to be convinced. And I just am telling people based on what I know for years about Mark and what's going on now, that reserve judgment before you can see enough to be convinced.
I agree.
Of what's going on.
Mark is a very nice guy. I like I said, I've been surprised by nice people before, but Mark doesn't. I can usually smell a racist, and I don't smell that on Mark. But
he's Colombian. His dad's from Bogota, Colombia, and he's brown. I mean, he's
I don't think that's got anything to do with anything. He's just a nice person. You know, you can tell when somebody just isn't right.
It doesn't ultimately, but to accuse him of being involved in that when he is like a
Look, again, you can
of the demographic.
My kid is biracial, and he thinks, and he's a fucking white supremacist dude. I swear to God. So,
sure, okay. Yeah. Again, if somebody demonstrates that behavior of Mark or what he did that demonstrates that he is a racist or whatever, then we want to look at that.
Yeah, we don't need to speculate on individual people and their races.
I think it's something beyond Mark is my take on it.
An individual manager at any particular thing can make any kind of a decision or make any kind of a statement that is individually they're responsible for, but that the company automatically bears the brunt for. But I think we're just about done with time, Jamie. We're just about at the end of our show.
A nice segue.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something's going on there because, if these two employees got fired right after they made a request and then more employees joined them in protesting, that kind of seems like
everybody hates that shit. Yes,
the manager,
hates whoever the manager.
Yeah, so maybe there is a problem that needs to be addressed.
Yeah,
I guess today's the day for that.
Well, certainly when that was orchestrated, that was the intent, was to, shed light on what they're doing and try to give that impression. So, that's out there. But whether or not that gives an impression, there are still you still require demonstrating it and being convincing, and I just don't see that yet.
Well, the court, as we said, the court will decide that. None of us want to stand in judgment, but we would like everyone to remain open-minded. And there will, of course, be some mud slung in this issue, as there always is in employer-employee
Sure.
disputes. That's how it goes. But listen, I'm really grateful for Mike Brennan. Thank you for joining us today on the radio program, Mike.
Well, thank you all for having me. I appreciate it. So,
All right. And the guys from Medical Monday, Roach, Berg, thanks for jumping in.
For sure, man. Anytime. Appreciate you guys jumping in on with us all the time too.
Yeah. And we had Greg Pawlowski on today, and we had Danielle on today. That was pretty awesome. And then, of course, John Sinclair was on today.
happy birthday, right? Yeah. So,
That's awesome.
Right.
That's the
Jazz
greatest story ever.
Couldn't keep Colin quiet the entire show.
I know. He's
Now, Berg didn't
his
speak a
vibe,
word
though.
until 10 minutes ago, you know.
His
Berg's
vibe
still
was
thinking,
felt.
I'm going to look like John Sinclair in 20 years. Fuck you, Rick Thompson. Jesus.
John looks good. What are you talking
John
about?
looks good, man.
Yeah, he does.
I know. He sure does. Well, what a great show. Thanks for putting together another winner, Jamie. Good job.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Mike,
all right.
Roach,
Thanks.
Berg, Colin, Deb, Rick, of
All
course.
right.
See you guys.
Take
See
care.
you next week.
See you
All these
tomorrow,
other
Rick.
shows. Yeah.
See you,
Good night,
Jamie.
you guys.
Will.
Bye.
Bye now.